First, Peter Sissons chairs another round of Question Time.
Good evening and welcome to Question Time, which tonight goes on its travels again. This time to Cardiff and the National Sports Centre for Wales. Another question in the 6 minutes left to us, because a number of people think it's important. From Jane Hurley, who is a nurse, though at the present she says she is not working. Jane.
Thank you. Would you advise someone wishing to start a new business company to do so in this economic climate?
Are you thinking of starting a new small business?
My husband is.
Right, and what is it?
Graphic design.
Right. Alf Gooding, would you advise him to start his business up?
Before you start it, you've got to do a proper business plan. You've got to go and get advice. There is a lot of advice available today that wasn't available when I started. You can go to the WDA and they'll provide you with marketing, finance, and production, whatever type of
and what about the interest rate? You had a letter in the Guardian today saying the real rate of interest is higher now than it was a year ago, when base rates were 15% and inflation nearly 11%. You're hardly telling him in this letter that he should borrow money.
In that letter, I'm telling the government to reduce the interest rates by at least 2% and get the country motoring again, because, quite frankly, I take the view very, very strongly that the world is different to what it has been before. We've got America down, Japan going into recession, France got national strikes over there, and therefore one country somewhere, and in this Maastricht meeting, should have the courage to say, we're going to slam the interest rates, knock them down, enough in one go to get the country motoring. And I reckon that'll support that good lady up there in terms of any new business that she wants to start.
Right, Emily Black.
Yes, the answer is unequivocally yes. Certainly interest rates have come down, are coming down, and inflation is coming down. And there is no time like the present, whatever the present is. You should get on and do that. And I think I absolutely agree with Alf Gooding about the raft of advice and information that is there available. The Department of Trade and Industry makes information available. There's information available right across a number of organisations in Wales, business enterprise agencies, and so forth. So absolutely go in there, and there's a lot to play for. There really is a great deal to play for, and there's no time like the present.
Ken Livingstone.
I think I agree with Alf Gooding. You aren't going to find much happening in the British economy without a real reduction of interest rates, because although they've come down, they've not come down as much as inflation, and any business now is having to pay almost historically high rates of interest, even before you begin to turn a profit. And all the confidential predictions the government's getting is that there isn't really an end to the recession. It's just not going to be as bad as it was.
How do you know what's in these confidential predictions?
Well, I mean, if you don't want the confidential, turn to the IMF. The IMF's report on the world economy back in the summer said there is no prospect of an end to recession in Britain. It's just not going to be as bad as it was. We're not going back to the growth that you had in the 1980s, which was fueled by oil. And I would agree with that. You've got to cut interest rates 2 or 3%, but that will mean a devaluation, which would also make it easier to sell our goods abroad and start to turn our economy away from the sort of lunacies of the 80s.
I don't agree that it will necessarily. I do not agree that all the pundits will say in the past it would have needed devaluation, but because we're only looking at the mark, and by God, Germany's got its problems, and we're worrying about the mark. If you compare our currency with other currencies, like the dollar, which we always did, I'm not certain that the old rules would apply. And I think the country should take the chance, take the gamble, and damn well do it.
Yeah,
David Wrigley.
Well, you don't need to read the books, because you can see what's happening in the high streets of our towns and villages in Wales. Our small businesses are going out of work day after day. There are record bankruptcies left, right and centre.
So do you think you should follow them?
No, that doesn't mean that you don't start. But you have to do a very careful assessment of what the viability of your own business is. And as far as the interest rate is concerned, we are locked in to the currency exchanges within Europe. And therefore that is restraining the freedom of action of Chancellors of the Exchequer, and you need some other way, therefore, of stimulating the economy. And my belief is that you do need a greater regional input to those areas that need stimulus, and that is something that has to work through the institutions of the EEC in a much more effective way than is working at the moment. But yes, I want to see as many people as possible starting up businesses, because that is important for our economy. But let's get the conditions right for them to do so and to succeed.
Well, what do the Hurleys think about the advice they've just got?
Well, yeah, thanks very much for all of that. I'll think very seriously about
it.
It
will be in the post.
Lady Blanche.
Just to correct someone, Ken said, the IMF have actually been very complimentary in describing how we have brought the economy round and how this country is now being run. So if you take the latest quotes from the IMF, you'll find a very different picture from the one that you just painted. And on businesses going to the wall at the moment, it has been a difficult recession. There's no question about that. But there have been a record number of new businesses created, right. And in fact, it is still a net growth of businesses, not a net loss of businesses.
Thank you. We'll hear one or two more from our audience. Yes.
Almost all commentators, except Ken Livingstone, agree that we're on the bottom, if not going up. Surely now is the time to get in.
Thank you. And lady over there in the dark hair.
Don't you have to be very careful about the advice that you take, because a lot of the banks have given misleading advice, it seems to me, in the past to people running small businesses, and that has led them into difficulty.
Thank you. Very quickly on that,
I did say, you want to go and see an accountant, you want to see a solicitor, you want to go to the WDA, you go around the Welsh office, and get a consensus of views from at least 4 or 5 people, because there's a couple up there.
Including the question time.
What you do now is the most important facet of whether you will be a success or not. It's better to plan carefully for 2 or 3 months and be certain when you start you've had good sound advice and you know where you're going.
Thank you very much. Well, that unfortunately is all we have time for tonight.